back to the Boomer Boys podcast, everyone. Today we'll be picking up where we left off from the last episode where we talked about the offensive takeaways from Media Day and Fall Camp. So we will be talking about the defensive takeaways from Media Day and Fall Camp today.
Yeah, let's start this episode by obviously stating the elephant in the room. We have got our production. Yes.
We upgraded.
So we want to thank each and every one of y'all for actually tuning in and repost our stuff. It made us feel like we had to go do this. I will say disclaimer before we start. We are new to this. And so, I could hear myself talk right now. And so it's going to be a fun one.
It's odd. It's different, when we film straight off of just straight Bluetooth microphones and then the normal mic. It's kind of like weird now. It's like I have a big microphone in my face and a big computer to my left. It's like, okay, we're upgrading. Hey, that's awesome. And we thank you guys for tuning in. And like what Bryson said, it kind of makes us like, hey, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
We're getting somewhere.
All right. But let's get right into it. We're going to be picking up where we left off on the defensive side of the ball. Immediately, let's go into what we learned about this team. What did you learn?
I think just we talked about this in the offense. I think the overall confidence is still there. I think we've had the overall confidence for this is probably year two. Last year's team, 2 years ago, that team was pretty stout on defense. I thought that was a really solid defense. It was probably like the first glimpse of okay, this is an elite defense caliber team. So, but I think it's just you're building off of it. We retained so many people that were big, like that. Just big players on that defense from last year. So I think the confidence is even higher than what it has been. And I think the expectation is the top 3 defense in the nation.
No, absolutely. I think the confidence level is there. We've already went out there and proved that we could be a top 10, top 5 defense in the nation. And many people are touting us to be number 1. I think the players have gained a lot of confidence over this summer, just about how they're even practicing and stuff like that, training and their work ethic, they know what they can do. And so I think that's a big theme. But also, when you look at 2025, OU's defense really only allowed 15.5 points, which is absolutely
crazy,
insane.
You just think that the teams you were playing against, the Ole Miss, we left a pretty good margin of points on that. But you think Tennessee, one of the most electric offenses in the country at the time, we held them in check,
Absolutely.
You look at that defense, and we talked about this in prior podcasts, when you have the confidence of that defense on the field, it makes so much more easier because it's like, okay, we hold them to 20, 21, 24 points. Okay, we got a good chance of winning.
Yeah, no, I think that is a big deal. Even with the sacks, 45 sacks, 122 tackles for loss. You're playing guys that are Heisman contenders, and it's all around stacked, we went through a gauntlet at the end of it.
Yeah, all November and stuff, and it just, hard to kill, the motto that you had, hard to kill. And now it's and BB said this in a prior interview, it's they're kind of getting away from the hard to kill stuff because it's a new team, and I think this team, we retaining Owen, we get Owen back, you get Kip back. Just on the defense side of the ball, you get guys like Stone back, Taylor back, and it's we got a lot of pieces back, and those are huge gets, and it's the guys we brought in, it's holy cow.
I think that is where a lot of the confidence comes from. You've got leaders like David Stone and Jaden Jackson on that defensive line that are going into their pro year. This is probably more than likely, unfortunately, going to be the last year that we have these guys. They're that good. Yeah. And so just playing behind those guys, Kip Lewis is a dog.
Yeah.
I think realistically the confidence really stems from that front 7 and what they have been able to do.
Mm-hmm. I will say, and just, looking at all the Twitter stuff that's going on, the disrespect that Kip is getting
absolutely
is unbelievable.
Yeah.
There was a, and I don't even know who it was from. It was one of the media outlets. It was the top 20 linebackers. Kip was at 18. It was guys, what are we doing? He was ranked 140 in top 300 ESPN college players. And I said, what do we do? This guy was
no.
To get him back, it's hey, he was one of the best linebackers in the nation last year.
No.
And a lot of it's not off of stats, but just watching, he is the glue of the defense, and we talked about that. Kip is the motor for that defense. When Kip is going, Kip is going.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think as far as Kip goes, I think a lot of our defense is getting underrated. Eli Bowen, Cortland Gilroy. I think those guys, you know,
Eli
those,
was freshman All-American. Court should have. I mean, he was an All-American.
he is, you know, they're not getting enough credit on in the secondary as really what they have produced last year. You know, you're bringing in Boganowski, who's proved himself to be able to step into big roles and make plays. Reggie Powers, I feel like those guys, you know, have something to prove, you know, but also like we know that they're capable of doing it. So I'm definitely excited about that, you know, and that kind of goes into like the depth, you know. Venables has said that he wants more than 11 guys to be able to go out there at any given time, you know.
Yep. And I think that's a big thing, you know, and it's a great selling point on recruits is he is not scared to play freshmen. He's
No,
not. Look
absolutely.
at Court, look at I mean, look at all those guys that come in and play as freshmen. And I think that is so promising to him. And it's you're developing them. You know, these guys are stepping into roles as freshmen. It's like, hey, Eli, go guard.
That is something that I did notice is that all of the defense, there's very little transfers.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, you look at Eli was a high school recruit. Reggie was a high school recruit.
Taylor,
Boganowski, Taylor, David Stone, Jaden. I mean, you go down the whole list. It's like, man,
PJ.
There's There's Danny. I mean, there's so many guys. It's like, yeah, we've had him for 3 years, you know, or 2 years like Court, but he was here last year as a freshman. And like, you know, you do bring in the big pieces like. Oh, I just went on a blank for a second. You do bring in like Cole Sullivan, and then you bring in like Dakota Fields from Oregon. Like you bring in those guys, and then we're not saying like, oh, they're not going to play. Like those guys are going to be big impacts on the defense stuff. But like these are OU guys. Like you know, you see Stone hit the portal and comes right back.
And a time like this, in the NIL area like this, being able to retain your whole team basically on the defensive side of the ball and progress them. I mean, who wouldn't want to come play, you know? And we're obviously seeing, you know, we're year 5. We're seeing what Brent Venables led teams can do, you know, on the defensive side of the ball, and we're getting to witness that.
Yeah, and that's what he's. I mean, he is the best defensive mind in the whole.
Absolutely.
You know, no bias. Like he is the best defensive minded coach in the whole nation. You know, I think that's a big part of BV's, you know, culture is like you're going to force chaos on the defense side of the ball. Yeah. You're going to get multiple looks, and it's just going to throw everybody off. Like you take a look back at the Michigan game this past year. You know, Bryce Underwood's first road start, Power 4 road start. You know, and it's like a big moment. It's like, you know, all the media outlets like this guy's the real deal. Not saying that he's not the real deal, but it's like, hey, he's going up against Brent Venables' defense. You know, you look at they're throwing everything at him, and it just put him in a blender. He didn't know. I mean, he just saw ghosts. I think that's a prop on BV. There's a stat that I saw on Twitter on another podcast said that 7 out of I think the 11 games, maybe, or 12 games are new or first year quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, I am absolutely excited. You know, when you look at the turnover margin, you know, we need to do more like we did against LSU. I don't know if you remember that first drive. John Mateer went and threw an interception. They almost returned it. But look what comes to save us. You know, Peyton Bowen in the back of the end zone. You know,
play.
Unbelievable. And stuff like that. And Brent Venables has made it clear that we need more of that this year. Our offense is going to do what they're going to do. They're completely revamping. We talked about that last episode. But this defense, we need to keep wreaking havoc and things like that.
Yeah, and I think like you said, the LSU game, you know, I remember Viv Lamb sitting there. I think I was watching it in bed actually, you know, but I see John, the ball just got tipped up, you know, they make a good play on it. And I'm like, man, like if we don't win, we're not going to playoffs. And I remember seeing Peyton Pig, and I was like, yep, our defense got us.
Yeah.
You know, just like it's a comfort blanket, you know. Yeah. I remember whenever we went out on the field the first time I was at the game with the Michigan, you could just feel it's like, oh, you know, it just you felt it, you know, it's like, man, we're here. And I think that's a big thing. We're talking about like the the turnover margin stuff. Look at the Tennessee game. You go get the strip 6 immediately, and it's like, okay, there we go. There's a little boast of confidence.
And then Robert Spears Jennings interception.
And then Peyton Bowen. Yeah. And it's like, okay, there we go. Like, and you think, and we didn't create very many turnovers early on, if you remember. Like, we didn't. It was like, okay, when are we going to get our first turnover?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh,
boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
boom.
like it was like
when they come in waves.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of just an elite defense is you just, you know, you're not going to be just dominant. Like you're going to go through it, and it's going to be like, okay, it's kind of boring defense. They just don't let people score, but they don't have any picks and all that, and then it's just like, bang, you know, here they come.
A big topic and segment that I would like to get into is, you know, are we buying OU as an elite defense? Are you buying it this year that we can reload on the defense? You know, we are missing some key points. Do you think that we'll keep that momentum?
Yeah, I really do. I think by retaining Kip and Owen, and then you got David and Jaden, I think you retain your guys that like are the
Yeah,
foundation of that defense
absolutely.
from last year that I think are just like the key pieces. You lose the Kendall Daniels on the defenses, you lose the R Masons, the G babies. Not saying those guys are not phenomenal because they were phenomenal, but like you reload. It's like all right, here's Danny Okoye. Here's Wyatt Gilmore. It's like okay, we got guys to reload. So I think we are elite as we can get. I think we are the top three, two, one best. I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe it. I
No,
think
yeah.
we are elite, elite.
No, yeah, definitely. I'm so in on this defense. I think this defense will prove a lot of people right because they are really highly touted right now. I think they're going to prove a lot of people right. Now, when we look at this defense, we'll go into more position breakdown. And a key thing that we think for the defensive line, can OU reload on that front four?
I think this is the biggest. I don't want to say concern, of this defense. It's like okay, you do lose R Mason, which was Lane Kiffin said in their post game like this is the best player in the country. This is the best defense player in the country. So I don't want to say it's a concern. It's a question mark. Like who are we?
Yeah.
Who are the guys that are going to step up this year? That aren't the Davids and the Jaden Jacksons and the Taylor Wines. You look at it. I mean, we got PJ's going to be given a much bigger role this year, same as Danny. They're both fighting for that starting spot, and whoever wins, it doesn't matter who. They're both going to get meaningful snaps.
No, absolutely.
This is one position. I think BV and them do it a great job. Like it's not just one person playing a position. You see guys rotating in and out every time, and it's like, what's he doing out there? It's like, well,
that's why he's out there.
And I think that's good. And that's the question mark. It's like, who's going to be those plug-in guys that are going to give us 15 snaps a game that can go just do their job for 15 snaps, not necessarily go out there and get 3 sacks and a forced fumble. Like we just need guys to do their job.
No, yeah, I think that is absolutely the not main concern, like you said. I think that's just the biggest question mark I would say about this team. But you got to realize we played a lot without R Mason last year, and a guy like Taylor Wine stepped up, and so I think I have full trust that BV, these guys have been developed enough in the system that they're ready to take off, and that kind of leads me to Taylor Wine as well. Like Taylor Wine is gonna be the dude this year. Taylor Wine had a productive last season, 39 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, with 7 sacks. I think he improves that. I think he improves that
100%. And you just look at Taylor. When look at the Auburn game, that was kind of the first glimpse. Like, ooh, like Taylor's here. He had the massive sack on Jackson early in the game, and it was like, okay, this guy's legit. And because we were wondering who's going to be who's going to be the other edge besides R Mason. You still had the PJs, you still had those guys. Like, okay, he's going to be able to do it, and then you see Taylor step in, and he had a phenomenal year. But I think that is going to come. He's going to be the guy. Everyone was so focused on R Mason last year, and so I mean they're going to put their guys for Taylor.
I think the biggest concern about this room is depth. Mm-hmm. We went and added an Arkansas transfer. If you want to talk about him,
Danny Solly. He's an Arkansas transfer. He's a big old sucker. He's a 6'3", 315. He's a big body, and I think that's a great pickup for the interior defensive line. Just another depth piece. And his Arkansas stats. He had 10 tackles. 2.5 tackles for loss in 2025. But if you watch his film against Texas, he creates chaos. He's in the backfield. He's in Archer's face. He almost had a pick by himself with a tip-up drill.
No, I think he's played a lot as well. Mm-hmm. I think, adding him adds a lot of depth. And I think that's something that we we'll kind of see with everything as far as that goes. I think that will be something that, is a work in progress early in the year. But I fully trust this defensive line to be not only really good, but the best in the nation.
Yep. I totally agree, and we've touched on a lot. Like we think this defensive line does have the capability of being dominant, more dominant than last year. Just because there's going to be guys that you just don't know. We haven't seen a whole lot of PJ. We know PJ has been here all his college career and was a former 5-star recruit. It's just we haven't seen him in action a whole lot in a significant way. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a great test for him. So going on for the defensive line, now we go to what I think is the most comfort blanket on the whole defense is the linebacker core. We talk about Owen, Kip, those guys. So, I mean, we can talk. I mean, Owen second team tackles. He had 74 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. And I think that's just a huge piece to retain in that defense is Owen.
No, yeah, no, I was really, really excited when we were able to keep him because of just the leader that he is.
Yep.
You know, he like we've said in other podcasts, Owen is the quarterback of the defense. You know, Kip Lewis is going to go and he's going to run around. He's going to do Kip things. If you ever watch Kip, he is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
But Owen's going to be able to be Kip's sidekick. You know,
Yeah.
to make sure that the defense is doing what the defense needs to be doing.
Yep.
And so, just keeping Owen just automatically propelled us so much higher.
And, you know, I think because he's the green dot, you know, and they interchange, you know, I see some clips and Kip has the green dot, Owen has the green dot. I don't think it matters who has the green dot. Those are two both veteran leaders. But like what you said, Owen's our quarterback of the defense. You just saw Owen last year. There were sometimes it was like, holy cow, this guy is a freak of nature. And, you know, if you really and you take a look at Owen, for you guys that don't know who Owen Heineke is, he is a former walk-on player. He's from Tulsa, Oklahoma, went to Ohio State out of high school to play lacrosse, played like 3 games there, walked on at OU as a linebacker. You know, and last year was the first time we really saw him. 2 years ago, he was like a special teams player. You know, he was on punt and he was on kickoff.
And he has a really interesting story.
Yes.
He would always make Brent Venables mad.
Yep.
Because he would go and sneak into drills and stuff like that. And I'm glad it worked.
Oh,
I'm glad he did because I remember watching him in the Michigan game and he had that big sack early on. And I'm like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
You know, who is this kid?
And I've said this in one of the prior podcasts. Like, that guy ended my high school career in high school at Mr. Kelly, freaking second round. I'm like, oh, we're going to play this guy, Ohio State lacrosse. Like, we might have a chance on him.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're out there in pregame. I'm like, good Lord, that guy is huge down there. I'm just sitting there on the other side. And he rushed for like 4 touchdowns and beat us like 28-0. So, I mean, Owen, you ended my high school football career. So, I mean, thank you, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully you made it this far, Owen. But no, I think you go out there and then again, we were really blessed last season. You know, we had the Brian Omosigo. We had the
you had Omosigo, you had Kobe McKenzie.
Kobe McKenzie. Why am I blanking?
You know, those guys, you know, Sammy went to UCLA. Or Kobe went to Northwestern.
Brian. I meant Sammy.
But like those are guys, you know, and those guys just want to get snaps, you know. And I think by retaining Owen and Kip, it's kind of like you saw the writing on the wall. Nothing against those guys; those guys are phenomenal football players. Wish nothing but the best for those guys. But I think you just look at that. You bring in Cole Sullivan. That's another massive pickup for the BV defense because when the whole stuff at Michigan happened, you know, Cole hit the portal. And it was like, okay, this is our guy, you know, then they get Kyle Whittingham. It's like, oh, and then, you know, there was 50-50, you know, and so glad that BV shoved Whittingham in a locker for the first time.
Getting
absolutely. Cole. And you just look at it. You look at the guys talking about Cole in fall camp, like he doesn't mess up twice. If he messes up once, they tell him and he fixes it.
No, he is a big body. I think just going to get him adds more experience within the team. I think also having him as well as Reggie Powers in that cheetah position.
I think Reggie's going to go crazy. And that was my breakout prediction player of the year. I think Reggie, he showed – I mean, he split time last year, you know, with Kendall. You know, he saw the field quite a bit. He's got some great snaps under his belt. But this is his position. You know, the cheetah position is his, and he is so versatile. He can cover. He can fill the holes. He can, you know, run in the open lanes. And I think that's so big for this defense is to have that cheetah position, you know, kind of like what BV had at Clemson with Isaiah Simmons. You know, I think that's kind of like what Reggie's going to be like, just that guy that can do everything.
No, yeah, I think absolutely. I'm super excited about that core, you know, and I feel like he's going to really have a big impact. I think, you know, he could even be an X factor for this defense,
100%.
Especially with, you know, his talents and things like that. So I think realistically, we shouldn't be worried about the linebacker core. Yeah. We're loaded in that aspect. And I'm really excited to see what linebackers actually show up to kind of bring some depth to that room, you know. Now, secondary.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a very promising group. It's a lot of the same guys, you know, starting off, I think with our veteran leader, you know, you have Peyton Bowen, has been here his whole college career, was former 5-star recruit with probably one of the most crazy signing day stories in history. You know, he was committed to Notre Dame, signed with Oregon on signing day, didn't sign the paper right, got him like the last, like it is the most crazy recruiting story of all time. But I think he is your veteran leader. Last year he took a bigger role than what he was used to. Early on in his college career, he really didn't see the field a whole lot. He got some snaps here and there, but wasn't just a big piece yet. Last year, it was his spot. He was the free, he was the strong. He was the safety that we relied on. Last year his stats were he had 47 tackles, 2 picks, and 7 PBUs.
Yeah.
And I think that is a massive, massive stat line. And I think he will just improve. I mean, he started all 13 games last year for us.
I think that is the biggest thing about this secondary is we retained Peyton Bowen, Eli Bowen, Gilroy, Reggie Powers will play some secondary. Boganowski, they all played last year.
Yeah.
We just added depth. Jacoby Johnson played a lot.
He's been here his whole college career.
He was a really big filler, and so I'm actually really excited for that secondary. They get overlooked a lot.
I agree on that. And I think just the secondary is the hardest position to play in football. In my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're telling guys to go guard Cam Coleman. I mean, guys like that guy's a freaking nature. He's 6'4", runs a 4.3, 40.
Yeah,
he has a 40-inch vertical.
Realistically,
and in just the way that they move and they play, like you watch Court's first big game was Auburn against Cam Coleman, and he held his ground. I mean, he was a freshman. He had one touchdown caught on him that game, but like. Dude, they were targeting Cam the whole game, and he held his own against the best receiver in the nation. And I think that is such a promising thing. It's like, and you can see, he's a very confident player.
That's what I was going to say. That is what I was going to say.
And, you just saw game by game. It's like, all right, he's getting his swagger. He's got more swagger.
When you play that position, you have to be confident because 9 times out of 10, you're going to miss something again.
Yeah.
You can't be perfect at that position, but you have to be willing to brush it off and go get it. And Cortland's a guy that knows he's talented, that knows he's one of the best on that football field and goes and gets the job done. And if he doesn't get it done that time, he won't let it happen again.
There is a very vivid moment. It was the Tennessee game. He comes down, they run like an out route. They run like a smash concept, basically. And I remember they throw the out route, and Court comes and he peels off of the cut route and tries to hit. He wraps up, or he doesn't wrap up. He just tries to hit stick him, bounces it, and they score. And on the sideline, you just see, BB's getting after him. And it's like, and that's the thing that's good about him. He just nod his head.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I got you. And then the rest of the game, he's clamps, And I think that's so promising. Eli he gives us the experience at corner. Like I said, he was freshman All-American his first year. He's dealt with some injuries with his time at OU, but I think last year he played very, very solid for us.
Oh, absolutely.
You think of the core memories of Eli. You think of the one-hand pick against Bama 2 seasons ago. The pick six against Bama.
Yeah. That was Auburn. Auburn. Wait,
was it? No, it was the Bama. Because it was right.
Yes,
it was right because it was our first touchdown. And
I'm thinking of Kip 6.
Yeah. But you just think he's that guy. It's like, all right, you got Eli and Court on the outside. Like, those are two good little corners right there.
No.
And then Boganowski has gotten some snaps. He's kind of in the same position as Reggie. He's it's a lot bigger role this season. The first memories you have of Boganowski is we're playing, it was Navy. Yeah, it was Navy at TCU in that Army Force Bowl 2 seasons ago. And he ran the open lane and depleted their tailback. And it's like, this guy does not like to hit. Like he's head hunting out there. And I think that is awesome. There's a picture that, I can't remember who posted on Twitter. Just typical OU media. They're like, does everyone wish their free safety looked like this? And it's just he's just like Jay's 6-pack and he's jacked. And it's like, good Lord.
No, I'm really excited for that group. I think we go and there's a lot more as far as the depth goes on this group. We retain the most realistically. Gentry Williams was a great guy, but he was hurt last year. And Robert Spears Jennings. Yeah. He was also great last year. Now, a name that has been brought up a lot has been Amarion Robinson. So, that's just a name that I would want to put out there to kind of look at and view.
Don't be surprised if he's making plays on Saturday.
I'm hearing a lot of great things about him.
Yeah, and that's so promising. Just that young core we brought in. I think our secondary is kind of young. You take out PB. I mean, we're pretty young.
Yeah,
Reggie
yeah,
and them are, I think, they're juniors now, but like still, like this is
yeah.
like we're pretty young on the back end of our defense, and I think that's very promising. And we got our young core. It's promising, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on the OU secondary, in which is it's okay. I think a lot of secondaries in the nation don't get the recognition they deserve, but I am very comfortable with our secondary.
We did just go get a new coach. Jay Valet got himself another job. And so Lamar Morgan, I believe he's from Michigan, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're really excited to see what, he's going to do. Jay was phenomenal. I think, Lamar is equally as good. When you look at Michigan, they've always had great defenses, great secondaries. And so I'm excited,
And I think, he's going to pick up right where Jay left off. I think it's awesome looking at some coaches that, they have the opportunity to go coach in the NFL. I mean, Jay's the secondaries coach at the Bills now. I think that's a testament to him. It's like, okay,
yeah.
I mean, our guys are good enough to go coach in the NFL like that. So I think that's very promising.
Yeah. And so that kind of leads us into our last few questions that we have, which I'm just rapid fire. Yep. Can OU create more turnovers?
I think they will. I think this year they're gonna be on fire for some turnovers.
Can they finish games?
Yes.
And I think the big one that we want, that we all, might have a question mark is the depth. Can the depth hold?
Like each other, I think that's the one that's the question mark, and not that we're not confident. It's just you just don't know. You really don't know the deep or the depth pieces right now. But if I were to go out on a limb, I'm gonna say yes. I do think because just the guys that we have that are dudes right now, I would put them up against any offense and be confident in them.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this, Bryson. Okay, so now we're talking about the defense stuff. Okay, who is one defensive player that you think is going to be like our X factor or MVP? What some people might say.
MVP. That's tough because there's so many good players to choose from. I'm going to go with Kip Lewis.
Nice.
I think Kip Lewis, realistically, what the Stoney and the Jackson's going to do. Kip Lewis just brings something to this team that's just insane.
Yep. I like that. And I think just, he led the team in tackles last year. Big. I mean, he's huge. He's not getting the recognition he deserves, but like everyone in Norman knows, like, hey, 10 on the defense side of the ball is also our dude.
I think a big thing this year for Kip is now people are like, are we overlooking Kip?
Yeah.
And they're going to realize really soon that they have been overlooking Kip. And I think that, his draft grade and everything like that is just going to blow up by, people. He's put the world on notice this summer.
100%. We gave out our breakout players. I want you to give me a kind of a younger breakout player that you're looking forward to that we haven't seen a whole lot of.
I've heard a lot of good things about Wyatt Gilmore that I'm really excited about. Obviously, Reggie is kind of newer, so I'm excited about that. But I think I have to go with Gilmore or Danny.
Yeah.
Okoye.
I think Danny's probably the most exciting one, just because you look at him and just how athletic he is. Like, he's just a freak of nature. You see clips of him at fall camp, and it's like, I mean, how is this guy doing this stuff? He's flying around and he's every bit of 250, just pure muscle. I think one name that I've been seeing a lot of good things about is Nigel Smith.
Nigel Smith, yes.
I think he's also been at Oklahoma the past 3 years. He is bulked up. I mean, he's 6'4", 300 pound, and you need 300 pound interior defensive linemen in the SEC. You just have to. You just look at Nigel. He hasn't got a whole lot of snaps at all, really, but I'm not saying that in a bad part of him. He just has been behind a freaking phenomenal
defensive
group, and I think this year, not saying he's going to go out there and just break the stat sheet up, but I do think he's going to be a valuable piece in our defense.
Yeah, no, so that will lead us into another question, which is what grade are you going to give this defense?
Prediction, I do think it will be A.
If
I'm grading them out.
I've got to do an
A. I don't see them falling anywhere below A. I don't see that in the cards.
Now, do you think it's good enough to win the SEC?
I do. I truly do. You just look at it last year.
Absolutely.
If you had offense that was capable of going to score 30 points or even 28 points, you win every game.
Realistically, I mean, if we just don't crap the bed against Texas, and our defense played good enough to win that game, just had a punt return and stuff like that, we're looking at SEC bid. We would have been in there. No.
I think the Ole Miss is the only game that if you were probably to ask the coaching staff last year, it's like, okay, what game would you wish you could like go back, and improve on? It'd be the Ole Miss game. But you look at Ole Miss, that was right when they were rolling, best offense in the nation. Trinidad's just being Heisman, candidate, Lane Kiffin, they're cooking, I think we let up the 40 odd points in that game. That's very uncharacteristic of that OU defense. So you should take that game away, and it's like you hold everyone to freaking 20 points.
No, absolutely. I am so stoked. That kind of sums up this episode. We're excited. Last week we talked a lot about how the offense is improving, and how the offense has transitioned to being better.
Yeah.
I think with this defense, we don't have to worry about improving. Right. We just, we're more about like, hey, we're here to stay. We're building on it, and obviously there's room for improvement. But wow, I couldn't this right here when the defense is on the field. I enjoy
confident.
It. I enjoy it.
You're confident. Yeah, I think that's a great way to end it. That we are just stoked. You're kind of blessed to have a defense like this
Absolutely.
now. A few years back, you're like, gosh, can we just hold them to 50 points, it seems like, and Baker can go score 60. But no, in all honesty, I think this defense is the best in the nation, and I think they will prove that week in, week out, just like how they're so dominant and the culture that they have on the defense side of the ball. So
yeah. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. We do have some exciting things as far as sponsorships go, maybe even relocation, but you'll have to stay tuned for a new episode to see everything. We're trying our best to put the best out there, and so we really do appreciate your support. And
you should see us walk in with all the equipment.
Yeah,
we're taking 3 trips.
No, this is awesome.
We do appreciate Tate's time a lot. After be doing this, so we appreciate his time. We appreciate Dylan's time for helping us on the behind the scenes stuff. We just appreciate you guys in general.
So, seriously.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Tune in next time to see some more Boomer Boys content. So, everyone have a good rest of the day, and Boomer.